Welcome to the main event.
Welcome to the All Avid Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Brandon BT Taylor. Big episode here. This is your AEW Redemption review show, your SummerSlam Night 1 review show, and we'll get to SummerSlam Night 2 either tomorrow or on Monday for the Monday night breakdown. So, fuck up. There has been a lot in the last week, 2 weeks in the world of wrestling. Let's start off with WWE Radio. The announcement of WWE Radio and its impact on the business as a whole right now. Look, we could sit here and we could pretend that whole WWE is rounding up all the media. They're trying to control the narrative. Let's sit here and be honest right now. WWE Radio and busted open for the longest time, has been a very pro WWE program even before it completely transitioned to WWE Radio. Let's start with that. None of that has changed. None of it. So, for people to be up in arms about WWE's trying, look at the way WWE is covered and the way AEW is covered. Generally, think about it. WWE is, let's use dirt sheets for example, they get hammered consistently on legit anything. Anything they're thinking about doing, it gets spoiled. But when it comes to AEW, you have the, well, we assume they're going here. We assume, like Mustang Machine Guns. It was pretty obvious to fans that if the Machine Guns were coming, they were going to debut either that Wednesday or that Thursday. And we had zero inkling, spoiling, any of that the Machine Guns were going to debut on Collision that day. The closest we got was Sean Ross Sapp tweeting out, I assume they're AEW. Keep in mind, Randy Orton's return tonight was spoiled ahead of time. Kevin Owens' potential return coming up has been spoiled ahead of time. But the Machine Guns are under wrap. The New Day, obviously, we know they're heading to AEW, but when they're debuting is going to be held under wraps. It's for dirt sheets to be complaining about the coverage, about WWE Radio and this. They're part of the problem. There's an issue between the connection between the wrestling media and the fans. You don't see that in sports. In most sports, you do not see that. That there's that much of a disconnect between the media and the fan base. You just don't see it. It's not like that with MMA. It's not like that with the NBA. Yeah, there's some reporters in the NBA or some figure talking heads in the NBA that fans don't like, regardless. But at the end of the day, it's not as brutal as it is with wrestling. And their coverage is very one-sided. And you know it's one-sided. And hey, if we can admit it, WWE Radio busted open 100% pro WWE. They have been pro WWE for a very long time. Fightful in the Wrestle Observer newsletter, very pro AEW. very pro AEW, and I respect what Sean Ross Sapp does, but the reporting from Fightful as a whole is very one-sided, and there's a lot of evidence pointing towards that. And then Dave speaks for himself on that end. And it's fine. It's fine if you have a bias. And this goes towards fans too. It's fine if you have a bias. Just don't sit there and act like you don't. Now, I don't think Sean particularly has a bias. I do believe Fightful as a whole has a legitimate bias towards AEW that they don't want to admit. So, in the words of Zeus, WWE took the AEW has the dirt sheets. WWE took the radio. Do I think this is going to be a major ripple effect and coverage of WWE on a national level is going to be changed now? No, because let's be honest, no one's listening to Busted Open Radio except wrestling fans. Dick and Jerry driving from fucking Montana to North Dakota. We're not randomly going to be on Sirius XM and be like, oh, let's listen to Busted Open Radio. That's not how it works. So it's pretty much nothing's going to change. It is a very big overreaction. Busted Open will have their one-sided coverage. The Dirt Sheets will have their one-sided coverage. There is no middleman in wrestling. And it is what it is. But the bigger story, I believe, of all this is the clear disconnect between the wrestling media and the fans. And it goes from both sides. Whether you're pro AEW or pro WWE, there is a major disconnect between the wrestling media and fans. That's all. The other major news from this past week, obviously I went into it already, Machine Guns debuted on Collision on Thursday. I mean, they're just tag depth at this point. People expecting the Machine Guns to be like they were 20 years ago. It's not happening. Maybe they'll get a tag title reign. I assume they'll get a tag title reign at some point. But as soon as the New Day debuts, that's another tag team that's jumped over. They're right now, and this may be an indication of how deep the AEW tag division is right now, or is about to be. You could sit there and potentially argue they may not be a top 5 tag team in AEW. Because you got the Bucks. You still have FTRs right now. Even though they're on a sabbatical, you still have FTR. You're going to have the New Day. I would argue, Brodito at this point is a better tag team than the current day Motor City Machine Guns. And it's not a knock towards the Machine Guns. It's just a compliment how deep the tag division is right now. And then you got the New Day likely coming in. So that's 5. And then as long as Cope and Christian are still going, they're one of those top tag teams still. Just off name value. Let's hit your AEW Redemption show. As an overall, I see the back and forth here. This was a weak show. Was it good? No. I wouldn't go good, but I wouldn't go like it was the drizzle and shits. It wasn't World's End a few years ago bad. And it's not, well, AEW's held to a higher standard, so they gotta either be perfect or everything sucks. No. Or I see some people saying, well, if you compare it to WWE, it was a great event. No. No, it can be a bad event. It doesn't have to be but WWE. It wasn't a good event. Was it terrible? No, it wasn't. But there was a lot more of, all right, can we just get through this match already? The chain match, which I like Jay White. That was one of the worst matches I've ever seen Jay White involved in. The Bio World match was not that good. Jericho Ciampa was not that good. Fox versus Osprey and Moxley, that wasn't a good match. That was sure as hell was not a 5-star match. According to Uncle Dave, I'd argue, was it one of the best matches of the night? Sure, probably by like default, because there was a bunch of solid matches. There wasn't any match that like truly stood out. There was Bandito versus Fletcher, maybe. That may have been the only match that you could argue, hey, I think that potentially could be a 5-star match, or that was easily match of the night. I thought it was the best match of the night. Omega Knight, that was okay. That wasn't great. That wasn't good. That was an okay match. There's a lot of okay matches. Doesn't mean it was a terrible event. And I walked out of this event the same way I walked in, and it's the way they've been treating this event the entire time. And that was, this is pretty much a throwaway event. It's a bridge to get us to All In, and that's fine. That's 100% fine, and I get it. But once again, it's okay to say this was not a good event. It was solid. I'll give him a solid. I don't think it was an F. I wouldn't even go D. Solid C. You can say this was a solid C pay-per-view. And that's fine. But we can accept this was a down event. For some reason, most people cannot without turning into, but WWE. I don't get it. I do not get it there. Other things from this event, Kofi Christian defeated Claudio and Pac, which officially began the setup now toward Bucks versus Cope and Christian for the AEW Tag Team Championships at All In London. I had an argument with Heel. He thinks the Kenny Omega aftermatch thing with Ospreay was a heel turn. I do not think that was a heel turn. I think that was pretty much Omega realizing this fucking dude right here was hesitant. And I think he knows. He thought about it. He thought about strangling him with the bag. He thought about stepping on the chair. He thought about these things. He didn't do it, but he thought about it. And I think that was, and Omega explained it on Wednesday. This was not a heel turn. This was pretty much you're focused on the title, which is good and all, but let's not sit here and pretend that you didn't think about pulling the trigger there. And I think that's going to be the story heading into All In and potentially post All In. I ultimately believe they're going to turn Will Ospreay at All In. He's going to get his moment, and it's going to be pretty much taking out Omega. I think there's a potential chance this could be it for Omega for at least the foreseeable future after this. I think there's 2 ways I think this for All In pretty much ends. Ospreay gets his moment, but he gets his moment in a similar way that he did with MJF a few years back, where he knew There was one way to win. It was a Tiger driver, and he didn't want to hit it because of what happened with Danielson. But that was the only way he knew he can win the match. And the only way Ospreay knows he can beat Omega in this match is pretty much ending Kenny Omega. The other option is, and this one's a little interesting wrinkle here, Will Ospreay loses it all in, snaps, takes out Omega, same way the Death Riders took out Danielson. Bag overhead, just absolutely obliterate Kenny Omega. And the last thing you see for All In is Will Ospreay officially in the Death Riders. New heel side of Ospreay, Killer Instinct, and then due to injuries, Kenny Omega is no longer AEW World Champion, or Omega at way less than 100% rematches Ospreay foolishly, and Ospreay wins the title. Spitballs something like that. All roads, in my opinion, are leaning towards Will Ospreay is turning at All In. And at some point before the end of the year, Will Ospreay will be your AEW World Champion and should be your AEW World Champion. He is the best they have. He is good on the mic. He's amazing in the ring. He has the look. Will Ospreay is the guy, and I don't blame Tony Khan for picking Ospreay over MJF. Ospreay is better than MJF. Now, this is an interesting question now. Speaking of MJF, what do you do with MJF now? Because it looks like Andrade is going to be in the Casino Cup. So you're not doing MJF versus Andrade. Are you going to shove MJF back in the Casino Gauntlet? Where, if that's the case, why? Why? If you're just going to shove MJF in the Casino Gauntlet, just keep him off the card. Just keep him off the card completely. Other matches that occurred at AEW Redemption here. Bandito versus Kyle Fletcher. My match of the night. Solid match. If I'm correct, that match went almost 30 minutes. Almost 30. Fletcher picked up the win. Mike Bailey won the 6-way ladder match to become the number one contender for the AEW International Championship. That match will take place Wednesday in Arena Mexico between the two. Should be interesting. I think Fletcher's going to win that one. I think the only reason Bailey won that match was because it was in Montreal. Bucks beats Death Riders. Get into that one. The Dogs versus Dogs versus Bang Bang Gang in a poor man's dog collar match is what it felt like. That was not a good match at all. It was by far the worst match I've ever seen Jay White in. He almost got his neck fucking broken in that match. He walked out of that match injured again, which no one knows if he's going to be. If he's out again for the foreseeable future, then at that point, I think you got to question the durability of Jay White. And I think that will go forward into, do you heavily push this guy? And I like Jay White. I think he's world championship material and everything. But yet another injury. That would be brutal. Hopefully it's not. And I still think for All In, it's going to be him and Moxley in the finals of this unnecessary tournament for the Continental Championship and Cup, which doesn't need to happen, by the way. But yeah, White, I assume you just go, if he's cleared, he goes in the Continental Cup. The dogs, on the other hand, I don't know what you do with the dogs. I don't know what you do with them, but this isn't it. David Finlay, so far, David Finlay's not working it. It's not working. And you're kind of starting to see why WWE wanted him to be in NXT to begin with. Why they weren't budging on sending him straight to the main roster, which was the holdup into why he went to AEW over WWE. You're really starting to see why. And I'm actually shocked because I thought David Finlay was killing it in New Japan. But since he's transitioned to AEW, he's just another guy. And I thought potentially the Jay White feud would be able to bring out not just in David Finlay, but also Jay White, the New Japan, the guys we saw in New Japan. I thought we were getting that when this feud started. We walk out now, you don't know what's up with Jay White. Is he injured? How long is he going to be injured for? Is he going to be back? Is he going to be back in time for All In? And then David Finlay, for the most part, most fans do not give a shit about David Finlay now. And that's a shame. But something is not working with David Finlay right now in AEW. Something is not clicking. And I don't know what it is. And I don't think most people know what it is. But he's just not clicking. And no, missing Gabe Kidd is not the missing ingredient for David Finlay here. Something's just not clicking with the dogs here. And having him join the Death Riders honestly makes no sense. Gabe Kidd in the Death Riders makes sense. Clark Connors and David Finlay do not. Your next match, Hikaru Shida versus Maya World. Maya World became the new TBS champion. This was not a good match either. Maya World ended up winning. I see what they see in Maya World. I just don't think she's at that level yet where she should be your TBS champion right now. I don't think she's there yet. Well, she had a good show. She had a good showing against Mercedes Monet. Okay. For Monet, it was a solid match between the two, even though Uncle Dave refuses to fucking watch it again. But it was a solid match between the two. But it wasn't anything special, people. And they tried to make it into this everything she went through because of her brother died. She came through all of that. I get the story they're telling, but like, it's not clicking. Because you presented her for the longest time as a tag team jobber on AEW. And then all of a sudden, she's challenging for the TBS championship against Hikaru Shida and winning. Do I think Maya World can get to that level? Yes. 100%. You can see there's talent. You can see the talent there. I just don't know if this was the time. But we'll see. We'll see. That's the beauty of this. We'll see. We get to see it play out. And we will get to see this play out. The next match here on this card, we went through Christian. Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa. No, I didn't think this was good. Did not. Did not think this match was particularly good, but it was one of my favorite matches of the night. It was different. It was completely different. It was different for a Jericho match. Now, Grant, I don't get the Painmaker gimmick. Never have, probably never will. But it was different for a Chris Jericho match. I don't particularly get the power drill, and then I also it's under Jericho won by submission, but did Ciampa legitimately quit, or did they just call it as soon as he started drilling his effing skull in? I literally have no idea. But Jericho beat Tommaso Ciampa here in a no holds barred match. That's the end of that feud. Don't know where you go with Jericho here. I'm kind of scared of where the hell you go with Jericho here. Ciampa, Ciampa right now is just floating around. He'll be in the Casino Gauntlet match, but if you're looking for another high profile feud for Tommaso Ciampa, or Tommaso Ciampa is gunning for the TNT Championship, or gunning for the Continental Championship, or the International Championship, or even the fucking National Championship, I don't think we're gonna see that. I don't. I think he's gonna be floating around on Collision. He'll be doing Collision feuds, probably with like fucking Orange Cassidy or some shit. And now will be Ciampa for a little bit. Jericho, he'll have a feud. Who that will be against, no fucking idea. But you'll get a Jericho singles match at All In. There you go. Andrade versus Mark Davis for the AEW National Championship. Andrade picked up the win. I know a lot of people are talking about Andrade with this, and Andrade, his complete turnaround since rejoining AEW, seems to have found himself finally. But Mark Davis has to be probably AEW's, not even just AEW, probably all of the male comeback wrestler of the year. He dealt with injuries after injury when he came to AEW. They broke up Aussie Open because of his injuries. And Kyle Fletcher was the one that broke out. Kyle Fletcher is the guy with world championship potential. And then you had Will Ospreay, the other member, when they were all in the United Empire. Fletcher looks like he's going to be a major star. Will Ospreay speaks for himself there. And then you had Mark Davis looking like the Marty Jannetty of the trio. He's broken out this year. Amazing comeback year for him so far. Fletcher, Knight, and Davis is probably number 3 when it comes to the Don Callis family right now. I'd put him above Okada right now because Okada's given me nothing. Since the Takeshita match, Okada has given you jack shit. But you know what? If you bought your stock in Mark Davis, it's paying off now. He's killing. In my opinion, he has solidified himself as a legitimate mid-card threat. I don't think he's going to be main event, but he has solidified himself as a heelish mid-card threat that can go. And I think he is 100% someone that is benefiting with being in the Don Callis family. You don't really get a lot because there's like 82 fucking members. But hats off to Mark Davis. He deserves his flowers this year. But Andrade became the AEW National Champion, the fourth national champion in AEW history. Yeah, it does look like he's going immediately into a title program. He's going to end up being in the Casino Gauntlet match at All In here. Your co-main event of AEW Redemption was Willow Nightingale versus Thekla for the AEW Women's Championship. This match ended very anticlimactic here, off a fucking roll-up. But this is where you kind of lose me here. Now, I'm all for Willow Nightingale becoming AEW Women's World Champion. But this wasn't the moment. This wasn't the time. The All-In Women's World Title match should not include Willow Knight. You could argue it shouldn't include Mercedes Moné either, but she's the biggest name you got, so you include her. Tekla, 100% should have been walking into All In as your AEW Women's World Champion, where you've had absolutely no one. Toni Storm isn't around. Mercedes Moné, up until May, June, wasn't around the whole year. Willow was occupied with a terrible TBS title reign. Tekla carried the women's world title scene. She broke out. And what's her reward for that? She drops the world title at Redemption. Not going to be in the world title match. Completely out of the picture now. That's two world champions that should have been going in to All In as champions that 100% earned it. Aren't, because we want to do trilogies, because we want to do the Willow Mercedes trilogy, because we want to do Omega Ospreay. Granted, I agree with Omega Ospreay being the main event after what they did to MJF against Darby. Before that, it should have been MJF. Once MJF lost the title against Darby, MJF in the main event of All In went out the window. When he won the title back, it wasn't good. Yeah, good few backstage segments with Will Ospreay, but outside of that, it wasn't anything to write home about. But Willow Mercedes Moné is officially your AEW Women's World Championship match at All In London. If I had to guess, they'll probably do a Women's Casino Gauntlet match, and that's where Tekla will be in. Or potentially they're doing her in Maya World, maybe, for the TBS title as a consolation prize for her. Who knows? And then your main event, Kenny Omega defeated the TNT champion Kevin Knight. Kind of already got into everything that went on after. And that is your AEW Redemption reviews. So let's jump in to SummerSlam Night 1 that happened just a few hours ago. This was not a show for a SummerSlam. So let me put it this way. For a SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Rumble, Mania, this was not a good show. For a Backlash or WrestlePalooza, I don't even know half the pay-per-view fucking names anymore. Crown Jewel. This was a good event. But because this was a SummerSlam, expectations have to be higher. This was not good. Liv and Io had a great opening contest here. Liv Morgan ended up defeating Io Sky in her first title defense since WrestleMania, since she won the title at WrestleMania, and have beaten Io Sky here. I'm under belief that the only reason Liv retained was because of the online discourse of Liv hasn't defended the title once since winning it, and they gave her defense. Because what was the point of Danhausen cursing her if she was going to retain? Now the curses don't work. Liv Morgan beat the Danhausen curse. That's what happened here tonight. But I'm not going to complain. Not going to complain here on that one. It was a good match. Liv won. I assume they're going to do Liv versus Stephanie. I assume Stephanie's going to be back. Probably the night after, probably on Monday. I think they're going to run that. I don't know what you do with Io, but live with the winner. Up next, your six-man tag team match. LA Knight, Sol Sikoa, Royce Keys versus the Bloodlines, Jacob Fatu, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso. LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys picked up the win here. This match went about 11 minutes. There's a lot of this match. For start, this match wasn't really anything to write home about, but there's a lot of different avenues here you can talk about with this match pertaining to the six participants. LA Knight speaks for himself. He's over, he's passable in the ring. Question still from a lot of people is why is he not in the world title talks? Why is he not challenging for the world title? Why is he not headlining potential pay-per-views? He's one of the MVPs of this match. Solo Sikoa, who would have thought the guy that led the MFTs, that terrible fucking group, Solo's found himself. He is killing it so far as a babyface. And he's been the MVP of this feud so far. The MVP, he's been really entertaining as a babyface. I love it. I love it. And then Royce Keys, they're trying now, but the crowd doesn't care. The crowd does not care for Royce Keys. And this goes back to what Triple H said when talking about writers and wrestlers, why fans blame the writers instead of buying into the wrestlers, why have passion for the wrestlers instead of blaming everything on the writers. Well, you didn't give us a reason to care about Royce Keys. You debuted him at Saudi Arabia for the Rumble, thinking he was going to get like some stone cold pop in Saudi Arabia, and this was going to be some massive debut. When the Saudi crowd does not watch AEW, they had no idea who Powerhouse Hobbs was. And it sucks. I like Royce Keys, but right now we're at the point where you probably have to turn Royce Keys heel and then build him up as this monster, or put him as the bodyguard for name it. You can do Ricky Saints. He could be Trick's bodyguard. He has to turn at this point because these no reactions that he's been getting, it makes him look bad. And I get what they're doing. They're trying to push him as someone important, but the crowd is not buying it. Crowd's not buying it. It's hard for us to be passionate about a wrestler when you don't give us a reason to care. You randomly debuted him in Saudi Arabia to zero reaction, iced him for 2 months, debuted him on a random ass SmackDown right before WrestleMania, where his debut was pretty much buried because you're in the middle of building up WrestleMania. You had him win the Andre the Giant Participation Trophy Battle Royal on SmackDown. And then you've had him playing patty cake pretty much is with, am I friends with you, Jacob? Or am I friends with you, Solo? Are we buddies? Are we not? What are we? To losing to Hikuleo. He lost to Hikuleo. He lost to Jimmy Uso. And you want us to care about Royce Keys? You haven't given us a reason to care about Royce Keys. I like Royce Keys. I think he has potential. I think he can easily be a world championship challenger. But because they completely butchered his debut, his arrival, they had to turn him. He's either got to become someone's bodyguard where they slowly start to get behind Royce Keys, and you have the eventual blow off of turning Keys back to a face, and he gets his comeuppance on either like Ricky Saints or Trick Williams. Those are two guys I think he would tremendously benefit as being the body and the muscle for. Or you just turn him heel. You get a bunch of local ass talents from every town you're in, and he just wipes the effing floor with them in under a minute. You build him up the way you built up Braun Strowman, Ryback. That's what you do. And then you gradually go towards a name from like the mid card where he goes in and just beats. And you start working your way up till you get him to that undeniable point where he can challenge for world titles. But he's not there yet. And that's because of this creative team. Next match on the card, Gunther versus Nick Aldis. This match went about 11 minutes also. Gunther defeated Nick by submission. I'm happy for Nick. Happy he got his moment. I just seriously don't know what they're doing with Gunther here, but this was a solid match. Nick can still go. He's better than most of the people on the fucking roster right now, and that's with 3 years off. I had this discussion on the DJ and Heel SummerSlam post show. I think this is a one-off. All indications, if you go through WWE social, was this is a one-off. This feels. I don't think we're gonna get Nick Aldis in another match. It'd be weird. Like every time this dude's gonna wrestle, he's gonna surrender the GM role just to get it back. They're not gonna keep doing that. Maybe he turns around on Friday and be like, "No, I'm done. I want to wrestle again." But this feels like, hey, I just wanted my moment. I just wanted to have a WWE match. I got it. I can make money being pretty much just appearing on screen and talking and not putting my body through abuse anymore and live a good life with my family. I think Nick Aldis is done in terms of in-ring. I know they said never say never. You got to make it make sense. If he's gonna come back again and wrestle, you can't turn around and make him the G. continue being the GM, or you drop the stupid thing of he can't wrestle as long as he's GM. For Gunther, the world title's not next. They're not doing Punk and Gunther next. It's probably going to be Sammy and Punk. I think Sammy's winning tomorrow unless they're switching his opponent. Where if they do, whoever the hell the opponent is, it's going to be the one facing Punk. But I got CM Punk, Sami Zayn as your WWE Championship feud coming out of SummerSlam. Gunther, I seriously don't know what the hell you're doing with Gunther next. I don't know what is there. I don't think I don't think they're gonna move him to Raw, back to Raw and have him face Roman. I don't think that's happening. So you're not doing Roman. I don't think you're doing Punk. You're not doing Cody. You're not doing Roman. Are you doing Owens? If Owens is back, are you doing Gunther Owens? And you're letting, because if you're doing that, you're running the career killer gimmick. You're gearing up to retire Owens. Who fuck knows? Next match on this card, Fatal Influence versus the Bellas and Paige. This match is what you expected was going to be. It was not going to be a good match. I don't blame Fatal Influence for this. They all killed it. They all look like stars out of this. It's 2026. No one cares about the Bellas versus Paige, and I assume it was going to be AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bellas, which we did almost 10 years ago. It was terrible 10 years ago. It's terrible now. Then, now, forever. It hasn't changed. We don't need a Bellas versus Paige feud. Have them face this. Them facing Fatal Influence helps Fatal Influence, because Fatal Influence would not have been on this card if they weren't facing the Bellas and Paige. They would not have been on this card whatsoever. Give the younger generation a rub. Get them over. Paige can probably still continue because Paige is young enough, but she can't go as she used to. The neck's still an issue, rightfully so. But for the Bellas, you should not be in any high profile feud. You shouldn't be feuding with Paige. We don't need this. We don't need to be wasting TV time on the Bella twins versus Paige feud. We just don't. Fatal Influence won. Should have, rightfully so. Fatal Influence looked like $1,000,000. I hope they give JC Jane that US title and just let Fatal Influence run your mid card and tag team mid card on SmackDown, your tag team division in WWE. You got something there. Don't fucking blow it. Next match on the card, CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. This match went about 30 minutes. CM Punk retained. Now I'm going to say this match was the biggest disappointment. This was a match that was built up to us for years, teased for years, as a potential WrestleMania main event caliber match. Just for them to turn around, for it to be the co-main event of SummerSlam, and to be a match that most people watched and can probably agree this match just dragged. It felt like a long match that all it did was just drag on and on and on and on. I think for CM Punk, this was probably one of his worst matches in general since we can go back to when he returned in AEW. This match was a drag, and it might is an indictment on Punk. I don't know. We just watched Punk go 30 minutes a few months ago with Roman and killed it. One of the best matches of the year. This might be an indictment, Cody, though. And I'm not advocating for a Cody Rhodes heel turn. I get why they're not going to turn Cody. Cody is their guy he's their John Cena now. He's the guy you send to go do Make-A-Wishes. He's the guy you send to go meet the suits and go on these talk shows that Roman doesn't want to do. Like, he's that guy you send out there. I get it. They did one thing right tonight with this. They got Cody out of the title picture. Cody is not going to be involved in the title picture for the first time in since winning the title against Roman at WrestleMania 40. The first time Cody is not hovering over the title picture. They've gone their separate ways. Randy Orton made his return, RKO'd Cody Rhodes to CM Punk, hitting to go to sleep, and 1, 2, 3, Punk ended up retaining. So you're getting Randy and Cody post SummerSlam. That will probably take them till the end of the year. Till then, you got CM Punk. You're going to have your job between now and when you eventually run Cody and Punk back, which I think they're going to. I believe they're going to run Cody and Punk back at WrestleMania in Saudi. I think right now, for the time being, your job with CM Punk is to start establishing credible contenders going forward. You're going to do the Sammy matchup, fine, do Sammy. You're probably going to do Owens if he's back. Maybe you do Priest. Well, I don't know, because Priest sounded off on why they're only pushing the same 4 people. Maybe Drew comes back, you reestablish Drew. Maybe you go in the well, you do Trick and Punk. Maybe you actually try to build up Ricky Saints. You do Ricky Saints and Punk. Those two can go. Those two have good chemistry with each other. Back in AEW, they had good matches. The whole point with Punk and this reign right here, Punk's still your champion. He keeps winning these matches. But you got to give guys the CM Punk rub and legitimately start to build up contenders. That's the biggest issue right now, especially on the SmackDown side. You don't have a lot of credible contenders. That even goes potentially with the Raw side too. Because after Reigns and Rollins, and I assume Reigns is going to win tomorrow night, who do you have on Monday Night Raw that is next as a credible contender? Oba Femi, that's it. And then probably not going to run Oba next. I don't see it. I do not see them running Oba and Reigns. They are going to likely prolong that shit till Mania or as long as they can. You got to start building up contenders. Roman's not doing a good fucking job at that because all Roman wants to do is face his friends and family. That's it. You had a potential contender in Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is currently playing third fiddle in the Vert Vision 5.0 right now. Theory and Maxine are more priorities right now than Brunswick. When Bronson Reed comes back, Bronson Reed's not going to come back and immediately be a title challenger. You're not running Roman and Bronson again. You just did that last year. You're not doing that again. You got to start building up credible contenders. And I think that's what the goal of this CM Punk WWE Championship reign should be. Face Sami Zayn. I would try to go against doing Kevin Owens right away. I'd let Owens do something else, but you might have to do Owens. Maybe you do get Trick to CM Punk rub. Maybe you do Johnny Gargano. And you get something out of Johnny Gargano finally. You can keep going on the list, but the big goal of the CM Punk WWE Championship reign should be to start to build up credible contenders. Use Punk to start getting some guys over that you want over. Because Punk can do that. Punk can still do that. He can still get guys over for you. And then your main event of tonight was Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar for the no, for nothing. Sorry about that. In a Hell in a Cell match. This was the worst of the three matches. The Hell in a Cell was just there. I'd argue this was arguably a bottom three Hell in a Cell match that I've ever seen. The worst, obviously, is Rollins versus The Fiend, which has a funny story behind it for me on that one. Because that was the introduction to wrestling for my wife, was that match. But this was not a good match. Let me rephrase that. In this trilogy, that was the worst. If this match was anything but a Hell in a Cell, I don't think it gets shitted on the way it's been getting shitted on. We all know Oba and Brock are not going fucking 20 minutes. They're not going 25 minutes. You'll be lucky you get 15. We knew that. At least we should have known that. But my thing is this, unless Brock is retiring, this shouldn't have been the main event. This match should not have been the main event if that's how it was going to go down. And I'm someone that argued for Oba and Brock to be one of the main events, specifically over Reigns and Rollins. But this should not have been the main event. If this was how it was going to go down, and granted, yeah, the Cody match, Cody and Punk was a drag, but I think that would have been a better taste in some people's mouths and the night than what we got with this Oba and Brock match featuring the Hell in a Cell. They were better off making this a street fight or a nose hold bar. You fucking name it. Underground match. You could have done, imagine the underground match as this. It would have been 10 times better. The length would have been fine. The Hell in a Cell was useless. The fuck did the cell accomplish here? The whole point of the Hell in a Cell is it's a blood rivalry. Punk and Drew, Mankind Taker, Shawn Taker, Batista Triple H, Brock Taker. Feud so personal, so whatever that it needs to be contained in the Hell in a Cell. This could have been that, but they didn't do anything. The cell's supposed to be a weapon. They didn't even fucking use the cell. They used the cell one time. and it was so Oba could prop up a table. The Hell in a Cell was absolutely useless here, just like it was useless on Monday Night Raw this past week. We didn't need the cell. This match did not need the cell. Did the feud need the cell? Arguably no, but you know what? It made sense at that point. It did. But seeing how it went down, hindsight being 50-50 now, no, this should not have been a Hell in a Cell. This was one of the most, this goes up there with Rollins versus Wyatt as one of the most useless Hell in a Cell matches of all time. And I love how they sit there and like, well, Brock's undefeated, never lost in the Hell in a Cell. He had 2 fucking matches and both were against The Undertaker. What kind of fucking flex is that? That's like me saying I've never lost a one-on-one basketball game, and I'm my only person I've ever fucking played my younger brother. What fucking special is that? You're undefeated in the Hell in a Cell. You've had 2 Hell in a Cell matches, and both were against the same fucking guy. What the fuck? Like the logic behind them, they really, really pushed that Brock's never lost in Hell in a Cell. This is Brock's playground. Brock is when you go into Hell in a Cell, Brock's this guy. Da, 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 da. He's had 2 Hell in a Cell matches, people, and they were against the same fucking guy. Like when Heyman was talking about Brock's never lost in Hell in a Cell and this that and the other, I was sitting here thinking to myself, oh wow, okay, who else did he fucking face? And then they showed the graphic tonight, 2-0 in the cell. And it's like, why are we bragging about that? It's like Habib's MMA record. It sounds cool on paper until you add fucking context. Undefeated in Hell in a Cell, you were in it twice. And you faced the same fucking guy both times. Like, come on. Oba picked up the win. This was a passing of the torch. Is Brock done? If I was Brock, I would be done. You're not going to get a better final opponent, in my opinion, than this. No offense. I don't care for him and Gunther. I don't care for a Brock Lesnar Gunther match. I don't know if Brock even cares for a Gunther match at this point. But who I it's gonna be hard to find a better opponent for Brock to put over on the way out than Obafemi here. But you just can't. This should be it for Brock. Do I think it's going to be? Probably not. Probably have one more. He'll probably have another feud. He'll probably call it Mania next year in Saudi Arabia. Get the fucking Saudi paycheck. Maybe he faces Gunther. I don't know who the fuck you put him against. If it's not going to be Gunther, I don't know what you're doing. Pretty much, if Brock comes back, it's Gunther or no one. Do you do break? I mean, maybe Breaker. But you're gonna need a shit ton to rebuild Braun Breaker, and then you're gonna have to go out of your way and make Breaker look just as good as Oba, and you and Oba pretty much no selling everything. I don't know. Over one. Run down quick the night 2 card and my predictions. Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio. Human Money is on a pole match. Danhausen, I believe, will win that match. But that segment on Monday, that was terrible. And I think we've hit the point where Danhausen has become overexposed, at least on WWE TV. If you want to have him go around do these media appearances and shit, fine, whatever, that makes sense. But I don't think we need 3 Danhausen segments in one night. Plus him on SmackDown. We don't we don't need it right now. Danhausen doing like one segment and then that's it. I think it'd be a lot more tolerable. And I also think that Monday's segment, for as bad as it was, would have been a little more tolerable to people, minus the Ryan Garcia appearance, which fuck that dude. But at some point with Danhausen, less is more. Give me give me a Danhausen backstage segment, and if you want to put him in a match, that's the second segment of the night. If not, that's it. We don't need to see Danhausen 3 times in one night. We don't. I get it. He's over with the fucking kids. And I get it. WWE is more centered towards families than it is the adult wrestling fans like myself, like you listeners. Like, I get it. But we don't need Danhausen 3 times a night. One time, sure. And if he's having a match, sure, second one. We don't need them. Next match, the WWE Championship #1 contender match, Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor. I got Sami Zayn winning this. I think they're gonna run Sami Zayn, Punk. There's your I wanna say Saturday Night Main Event, but I think they're gonna shove that shit on Worlds Collide. So it goes head to head with AEW. And plus it's in Chicago. So Punk versus Zayn, I think that's your Worlds Collide main event. But you're getting Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn will win this. The only way I don't see Zayn winning this is if Balor gets taken out before the match and whether it's Owens or maybe even Gunther replaces him and gets the shot. That's the only way. WWE United States Championship match, Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin. I would go with I want Trick to win. I hope Trick wins. I just don't know if they're gonna have Baron Corbin lose his first match back. And that's what's scaring me, because I don't think Baron Corbin needs the win. And I don't think Baron Corbin should be the one taking the United States Championship off of Trick Williams. But I'm gonna stick to my guns here. I'm gonna go Trick Williams for the win. Next match, the 5-way ladder match to crown the interim WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, Chelsea Green, Charlotte Flair, and Lash Legend. I don't think Stratton's winning this. She's automatic out. I don't think Jade's winning this. She's an out. I don't think Lash is going to win either. I also don't get why Lash is in this match. This match is not going to emphasize her strong points here. And then having her beat Julia in 2 fucking minutes, I don't care what anyone says, that was a squash. Oh, well, they had to cut time. That was a fucking squash. That didn't need to happen. Should have changed the fucking match if you were going to have Lash turn out and just squash Julia. Useless. And you sit there and wonder, Triple H, why people go at the fucking writers in the booking instead of being passionate about the wrestlers. People like Julia. At least people line, they want to like Julia. You don't give them a fucking reason to. There's no reason. You want everyone passionate, passionate, angry that you did something so fucking stupid like this. There was no need to squash her. So you squash Julia, you don't have Jordan Grace on TV at all anymore. Blake Monroe, you've been running vignettes. She appeared in London and really hasn't appeared fucking since. I don't fucking get this. For this match here, for this useless interim women's championship match, which don't care what anyone says, the only reason this is happening is because they don't want to strip Rhea. They don't want to strip Rhea. Rhea's going to be back. If Rhea's back on Friday, this match was fucking useless. And I have a feeling Rhea's probably going to end up being back within the next 2 weeks. And they just needed a women's world. They needed the women's world title match in some capacity on this card. But they don't have the balls to strip Rhea Ripley. That's the only reason that we're having an interim title match. This goes one of two ways, in my opinion. Either they really push for what they really want, which is Charlotte versus Rhea. They want to do that trilogy match. They want to do that match again. Or they go for the moment and Chelsea Green wins the interim title. So it's really, do they want the match or do they want the moment? If they want the moment, they're doing Chelsea. If they want the best possible match, they're rolling with Charlotte here. I think Charlotte is going to win this match. Next match card for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, Penta versus Chad Gable. Gable gets his moment here. There's no if, ands, or but. Chad Gable should be walking out of SummerSlam tomorrow night as your new Intercontinental Champion. Nope. Penta should not be winning this match. Give Gable the win here. Let him run as the Intercontinental Champion. Let's go. This should have happened a few years ago. Don't make the same mistake again. Gable should win here. And then your main event, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Reigns is going to win. I don't see them taking the title off of Roman to put it on Seth. Don't know where you go with Seth here after this. Maybe you move him to SmackDown. Or I seriously don't know what you do with him. I think something's happening tomorrow. I'm a little convinced it's going to be after this match. But I don't know what. I don't think it'll be like Kevin Owens' return on Roman. What could it be? The Rock? Maybe. I put that as a long shot, but I don't put it as a 0%. Maybe it's Oba staring down Roman. We get Oba and Roman stare down. And that's how you end some. It feels like something is going down tomorrow. And I just don't know what the fuck it is. But I think those are your three possibilities. Owens returns. Rock returns, confronts Roman. There's your first indication / build towards Rock Roman for Mania, if that's what they're doing. Or Oba interrupts Roman's celebration, and Oba's staring down Roman, and now we got the build, and we're rolling towards Oba versus Roman. but it just feels like something's happening tomorrow. Something has to happen tomorrow. And that is your SummerSlam predictions there. And yep, so I will be back. So the goal is going forward, and I have a set schedule for me. Record Monday nights for the Monday night breakdown, Main Event Hub's Monday night breakdown, which will be under for Spotify, the All Average Wrestling Show, section 2. So you'll get all those on Spotify. This will be uploaded to YouTube. We'll get clips, whatever, regardless. But the Monday night breakdown, record Monday night, clips drop Monday night into Tuesday. Whole episode drops Tuesday morning. Not doing NXT one. Dynamite breakdown, record Wednesday night. Same thing. Episode will drop Thursday morning. And then I want to do a Friday night breakdown for SmackDown, record Friday night. Clips and stuff go on Friday night into Saturday. Episode drops Saturday morning. Spotify, YouTube, etc. PLEs, pay-per-views will be reviewed. Some of them could be dropped night of, clips night of too. It's that and the other. The All Average Wrestling Show still be a thing. It's to mainly just get more content out there. Because part of my big issue is if I don't find it interesting, if I don't find anything, I don't want to talk about it. I usually don't. But if I'm going to force myself to watch these shows in full and really get to talk about it, then I got to set it as days. So really keeping on top of the schedule. Saturday, shots fired Saturday, still up in the air. I seriously have no fucking update on that. I don't know if we're going to be doing it this year. But the preferred goal is Thursday night. Thursday would be recording or whatever else day I end up having. It's not Sunday. Would be recording any all around wrestling thoughts. Maybe have some people on for the All Average Wrestling Show and then Elite Sports Take and get those out that day. So that's currently the update. I will be back tomorrow night into Monday. I'll do a SummerSlam night 2 review. I will be back tomorrow night. And then after that, it'll be the Main Event Hub Monday night breakdown. So till then, adios and good night.